On today's edition of the Thrive Time Show, we are interviewing a man who was a U.S. Marine and who always will be a U.S. Marine, a retired Navy veteran and military communications expert by the name of Doug Ward. Around the office, I call Doug Ward Super Scary Doug Ward because Doug Ward always shares the truth, even if it freaks me out. And on today's show, he joins us to share with you, to share with me, to share with us what he believes every freedom-loving American needs to know. Again, on today's show, he's going to talk about why you cannot rely on the government to help you. He talks about the importance of stopping watching mainstream media, why now is the time for civil disobedience, and why the people have to take back the power. On today's show, Doug Ward shares with you the truth about the Insurrection Act, and he talks about why hope is not a viable action plan. And then Dr. Zellner provides the phone number of the governor of Georgia's secretary, and that number is 404-656-1776. Again, if you want to call the governor of Georgia's secretary, her phone number is 404-656-1776. Call that number and request that the state of Georgia actually allows signature verification on the 2020 ballots. Why in the world would the governor of Georgia not want you and I, the American people, to be able to verify the signatures of the people that voted in the 2020 election? I know why. It's because the governor of Georgia is committing fraud.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here.
Yes, and yes, Aaron Antis. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh man, I am pumped up.
You are looking almost as good as you sound.
Well,
I mean,
thank
you
you.
sound beautiful, but I mean, I'd say what you're tied. You're a beautiful man. Now, can I tell you about this next guest? Can I tell you about this guest?
Yes, please do.
He served honorably in the military for years, and every time I talk to him, I feel really scared, and then I feel very appreciative, and then I go tell my wife. That's kind of the pattern.
Wow.
This guy loves our country, so he doesn't hold back from sharing the truth, and he has been on it since day one. I'm talking about maybe 9 months ago, 10 months ago. This guy's been on it. He's always correct. He's like Lynn Wood.
Yeah.
He's like Sidney Powell. Doug Ward, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty good, Clay. How you doing?
Well, brother, I got to ask you, just for the listeners out there that don't know your background, what is your background with the military?
Yeah, my background, I started out in the Marine Corps in the late 80s. So Reagan was president. And then, I eventually transferred over. I retired out of the Navy in 2013, did some defense work as a contractor with special operations, and then moved into the defense industry a couple years. Then right now, trying to do my own thing with my own podcast, and also going to transfer over to some other social media platforms just to kind of get the word out there. We've kind of gone some bad places as a country, and not just as a country, but as a world.
And what is your website where people can learn more about you? Because I know some people are going to want to look you up right now. What is your website?
Yeah, there's two places they can go. They go to Anchor Strategies, LLC. That's the leadership. And then there's also the, if people want to listen to a podcast, they can go to truthshow.co. And then, of course, I'm going to be moving on to YouTube, and that's going to be The Truth with Danger Doug.
Okay, truthshow.co. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I saw you last night live on Monkeyworks. You were on Monkeyworks, blowing my mind. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you an opportunity. And again, I just want to make sure I'm not misquoting anything. You're retired. You were in the Navy for how many years?
My total time in the Navy was almost 13 years.
Okay, and you were 13 years in the Navy, and then how many years were you in the Marine Corps?
I was in the Marine Corps 4.5 years. I had some other active duty time in there with the Army.
What did
So,
you
know,
do?
I kind of moved around a little bit.
What did you do when you were in the military? Because I know that if I was in the military, Aaron, they would put me in charge of kitchen cleanup crew. They would say, you're in charge of, what did you do?
They take you a little farther than that.
What would you?
You're a smart guy, Clay. And, but no, my time in the military, most of it was in communications.
Yeah.
I had a brief break where I was a parachute rigger with doing airborne systems, as far as aerial delivery, and that's with parachutes, things of that nature.
So
Most of it was with communications. And my time in the Navy, I was fortunate to be able to work with the Navy SEALs on 2 tours and deployed with them, I think 5 times to Afghanistan and Iraq.
Okay, so you know what you're talking about, and now it begins. What do you believe every freedom-loving American needs to know now?
I kind of came up with the list, and there's so much, but to break it down just in a simple format, obviously people would have to really dig. And once they start just typing in some of this stuff, it'll just pull up so much information. I've been following this ever since George Bush talked about the 1,000 points of light and the New World Order back after Desert Storm. So for myself, I've been kind of watching it. I think one of the first things that people are seeing right now, like your 5-meter target, what I like to say that's right in front of you, is we're seeing all the politicians who are basically flipping on the president at this current time. Now, these are people, most of the American people who voted for Trump also voted down the line Republican. Okay. Now we're seeing a lot of them, and it's already been happening over the years, and all this stuff is starting to come out. And what was extremely powerful was after President Trump was told obviously they're going to have to wait for election results. Well, a lot of Republicans actually came out after riding his coattails. And what happened? They actually turned on him and told him to concede. So we have some problems there. And then not only that, we have quite a few of them that have not said anything. Now, these people are the people that they're supposed to, quote unquote, listen to we the people. And they're not doing that. They're not wanting to look at the evidence. I think I don't know how many videos. I've lost count of how many videos I've seen of election fraud and ballot stuffing and things of that nature. So we basically have, we like to think we have Democrats and conservatives. Basically, we have those in power and those who are not. If you get elected into office, you basically won the lottery, and you will be compromised at some point. We've kind of lost our way as a republic represented by representatives who are supposed to look out for our interests and actually work for the people, not the other way around.
Now, I want to make sure the listeners know this, because I think a lot of our listeners are hearing this for the first time. Everything that you just said, referencing voter fraud, can be proved. And so if the listeners will text me directly to 918-851-6920, 918-851-6920, I will provide for you 100% irrefutable evidence of the voter fraud, the election fraud, the mass scale industrial level election fraud that Doug was referring to. But Doug, I want you to give us some encouraging. I mean, again, you don't have the capacity to BS, but give us the encouragement. Now that we know that there is a lot of corruption, I mean, mass corruption going on, what's something encouraging that you're seeing in your world that every American needs to know?
Number one, people like to say, I'm losing hope. First off, when I was in the military, hope was not a plan of action. Hope is great, but you have to back that up with action. That's your faith. Every day you're taking a small step forward. So you need to take those actions, whether it's in your state, local, county governments, and even in the federal election process. Now, everybody did that, and obviously that's where we're seeing a lot of the election issues. President Trump has called for people to be in D.C. on January 6th. I plan on being in that area up and around that time. I'll be heading up there a little early. But I think people need to understand, get out and start making your voice heard. Most people, I think, for the longest time didn't feel like their voices were being heard. And now is the chance to really make your voice heard.
Now, Doug, what else do you believe that every listener right now needs to know about what's going on in America?
A lot of people are looking at the military to save the day if there was an Insurrection Act or something along those lines. I've kind of made the comment to people, and Monkey Works and myself actually discussed it, and Scott McKay. And I try to let people know you don't want the military on the streets. They don't want to be on the streets. Because another thing, if they did come on the streets, some people are out there, they're in militias and things of that nature. You have to understand the military, if you're not on their team. Now, I'm retired, so I wouldn't even want to see them on the streets. And if they're on the streets, you can't go and join them. Unless you see something happen and you're trying to help someone. Other than that, guard your castle. If something like that happen, let it happen and let them take care of business. But the big thing is right now, the military and a lot of the generals are saying they do not want to participate in Insurrection Act or martial law. And they're saying it's not the military's job. If you look back at the history of the United States, it has happened. Matter of fact, on numerous occasions. Lincoln was famous for using it, and it was also used in D.C. a few times. There's different times you can look up the Insurrection Act, and you'll see that it's been used.
Yep.
So for the military to even make those statements, the generals, that is very concerning to me. If you're given an order and a lawful order, you might not like it, but you're going to have to follow through on it to serve the Republic and the people.
What generals are saying, or who is saying, that they don't want to implement the Insurrection Act?
Well, we had General Milley, who was very kind of a little outspoken about that. And I'm trying to think of who's in now. They were just speaking about it.
I don't want to paint you into a corner there. I certainly don't expect you to memorize all these names, but you're saying that currently there are people speaking out in the military saying they don't want to implement the Insurrection Act?
Yeah, and I just forgot the general's name. I was just looking at the article yesterday, and it's very concerning. I think some of the military, I think the younger portions of the military, they do support the president. They support what's going on. They don't want to see things fall apart in the country. They realize the country's in a bad state. I think if they had some backbone in the senior leadership, that they would be able to do this and do it with a clear conscience and understand their true mission, which is to save the Republic. Because right now we're going down a road where the Republic's about to get handed off to the United Nations, or what will become the New World Order.
That's not encouraging, Doug. Doug? Now
what I'm saying is, don't rely upon the government. You have to rely upon yourself. Everyone has to get out and start speaking. Take off your mask. It's been proven the mask does not work.
True.
It does not help anything. Look at our small business owners. If they were to all open up at one time, there's just no way it can happen. The people have to take back the power. That's how a republic works.
Okay, so
I'm on the side of people. I think the military, in the end, there will be people that will stand up and do the right thing.
Now, I know. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm getting all this. Now, James, we're talking to Doug.
Yes. Hi, Doug.
Every single time that I talk
James?
to Doug, he freaks me out because he doesn't have the capacity to BS. Now, listen, that is a problem for some people who are used to, they're wanting that BS voice. But we're in a time now of sobriety, of seriousness, of focus, of go time.
Yeah.
So you guys have the floor. You can ask Doug any question that you want. I want to give Andrew an opportunity to do this as well. And then we're going to go back to some things that Doug feels like every American needs to know. So, Aaron Antis, we'll go with you first. As a man, you run Oklahoma's largest home building company, certainly the largest home building company in this studio. What question would you have, or questions would you have for Doug Ward about what's going on in America right now?
Well, I know I was just looking through times when the Insurrection Act was used. I know in Eisenhower used it when he sent the 101st Airborne to Little Rock after the Brown versus the Board of Education for the desegregation of schools. But we've also got, other examples out there. How do you see that actually playing out? If he's got some people in the military that don't want to be a part of this, and, you've got other situations, what would you see as the scenario where that actually gets rolled out, and what do you think the response would be out there in the general public from it?
I think so. It's kind of twofold. I think some of the people in the civilian world would have issues with it, and those would definitely be people who didn't vote for the president that would be against it.
Yeah.
I think a majority of people would welcome it as long as it was taking care of business and it was getting things back on track the way they were supposed to be.
Well,
you have to understand, 1 year, not even a year ago, we had the greatest economy, and it was just on all cylinders.
Yep.
Now we have a situation where everything's kind of flipped around. I think there would be some resistance, but I think there would be a lot of people if it wasn't, for example, countrywide, but it was more targeted towards the places where, for example, where corruption happened, or if they were going after people that we know have committed, and I hate to say treason, but a lot of this is, to steal a vote is treason.
Treason.
Yeah.
You hate to say it. I love to say treason because that's what it is.
It is.
That's what it
There's
is.
no
I
other
mean,
way about it.
Doug, when you were over there serving, you said you served in Afghanistan. Is that correct?
Afghanistan, Iraq. I was in Desert Storm also.
So when you're over there serving, and a guy fires off a shot at you, and I'm not in any way making light about the atrocities of war, but when someone shoots at you, trying to take your life, trying to take your freedom, you probably don't hold up a piece of legal documentation and say, well, it says here Article 7-2-3 indicate. I mean, you don't do that. It's a fight at that point.
Yeah.
At what point does the complete, this is facts, folks. Listen to this. Everybody write this down. Think about this. The actual voting machines that everybody used to vote, those machines were created by a company called Dominion, right? The Dominion voting machines, those are Canadian. It's a Canadian company using Chinese parts. They share office space with George Soros. That's called Dominion. That's the hardware. The software is called Sequoia, a.k.a. Smartmatic, originally coded out by the communists. The votes are then sent to servers, Amazon servers. Their votes were sent to Amazon servers in Frankfurt, Germany. And step 4, the votes can be switched. They can be switched. Yes. And Patrick Byrne, the CEO of Overstock.com, the founder of Overstock.com, we've had him on this show. Today, James, Sidney Powell, a respected attorney, released a 270-page report showcasing industrial-level widespread election fraud. So, Doug, if that, in fact, happened, I would think that would be considered treason. I mean, the definition of the word treason is a crime of betraying one's country. Doug, at what point do these acts of these corrupt elected officials become treason in your mind?
To be honest, I think we've already crossed that line. Now it's just a matter of being able to prove it and then have judges and courts that are willing to prosecute. A lot of the judges and courts we have in place now, we have a lot of judges who try to rule from the bench and try to reinterpret the law, I would say. Some people say interpret it from the bench. I like this, and they don't rule on what the law is. We need to get back to ruling based off the law itself, not making your own interpretation of it, but making that basis off of what does the law state.
Dr. Zellner?
Yes, sir.
You know this. We've had Doug Ward on the show before. This guy has served honorably in the military. He's a retired Navy veteran. He's a former Marine.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the capacity to BS us. So it's on you and me to keep it light and fluffy. And so far, we've covered that what is going on in America right now is nothing short of treason.
Yeah.
Treason. We have gone over the fact that he believes that Doug believes that every American needs to wake up to what's going on.
Right.
That to take our republic back, we're going to have to engage in some civil disobedience, take the mask off. We've covered that hope is not an action plan. Sir, what questions do you have for the great one, Doug Ward? And I know no matter what his answer is, it's going to freak me out. So then I put it back on you to pump us up again.
Well, it's kind of been fun. I have been texting with 3 of our 5 Congress people today, because one's actually a Congresswoman, and the one senator that I am pretty close to, and he actually texted me back a pretty insightful thing. But what I was doing is I was just encouraging them, the four that I was talking to, I was encouraging the four of them to do whatever they can legally to make sure that the truth is out there. That's all we want. That's all that every U.S. citizen wants right now. And if they don't, shame on them. We want the truth. What happened? What legal votes were cast, and how many, and in what counties, and what does it mean going forward? And right now, it's if people aren't just a little shaken, they should be, right, Doug? I mean, people should be a little concerned, or maybe a lot concerned.
Obviously, people need to be concerned. I would say a lot concerned because of the grave and the serious threat of what's just happened to our country. So you have to take this into context. I just brought up the judges.
Yeah.
You're talking to some local politicians, and when I say local, they're politicians that are local to your part of the country.
Right.
Now, I would see this to really make a difference. We would probably have to go into military tribunals, because that would take it out of the local jurisdictions' hands and people that could be possibly compromised.
Does your gut really tell you, Doug, that something's going to go down? Or
Yes.
is this just going to be another blip in the history of our country that we look back and go, yeah, that was a bad deal. I mean, we've had that before, I mean, probably the Vietnam War, we can look back now and go, well, that was kind of a bad deal, I mean, different things but yet it seems like that it's just an average U.S. citizen. I mean, what can we do? What do we do? Get a shotgun and storm the city hall? I mean, what do we do? And at this point, I mean, I'm not sure, short of, sort of something major happening, and I'm not sure the powers that be are willing to pull that trigger, metaphorically speaking. So what's your gut tell you, Doug? What's going to happen?
Most of the people that are in power, what I see is they're not willing to do anything because, if you look at President Trump, it seems to me from the observations I'm making and, some people I've spoken to, the inner circle, even within and around Trump, there's only so many that are like they would go down in a ball of flames to protect him.
Right.
Right. That means they're banned from Washington, D.C. They wouldn't be able to get a job in politics anymore. They're willing to give that up. There's few and far between of those type of people.
Right.
The issue we have is most of these politicians are bought. For example, some of them are probably already interviewing for jobs in a Biden administration.
Well, sure.
Gross.
So, no, this is where we're at as a country, because we no longer have so much a two-party system. We have a one-party system. We just have some that kind of cater to the left. We have some that cater to the right. And then, you got a little bit of the middle in there. But mostly because we've gone so far extreme to the left with a lot of things that have happened throughout the United States, especially in the last 10 years with our education system, the morals. So I think we have a major problem, and a lot of people are having problems with this. Now, when you talked about storming, with your shotgun and going to City Hall and things of that nature, what I think that people need to do now is, it could get to that point. I don't encourage it. But what I will say is this: every person that's ever running for office in your jurisdiction, in your state, they need to be looked at. Everyone needs to dig into their past. Why are you running? And make sure you understand.
And who's funding you?
Do they have something to make off of this? If we look at a lot of United States and things that are going on, how much United States property or businesses have been sold to foreign countries or foreign entities, namely China. They bought a lot of the U.S. food industry. How did that happen? How would you give up your own food industry? I mean, we already saw what happened in the manufacturing industry, but how would you give up your food industry like that?
Yeah, because everybody has a price. Everybody has a price tag hanging off of them. Some of them it's a little bit bigger than others. They got a few more zeros, Clay, than some, but they all have a price tag, and there seems to be no shortage of yen to go around.
I think this is what I'm seeing right now. Again, based upon the comments of Lynn Wood, General Flynn, Sidney Powell. At the end of the day, the love of money is the root of all evil. The actual love of money itself.
Right.
And I think if you get to a place where there's no amount of money that can move you because you're willing to die for your country, that's the kind of the people that the president needs around him. Now, I want to make sure we're not going too fast on this. We talked about the Insurrection Act. The Insurrection Act of 1807 is a United States federal law that empowers the president of these great United States to deploy the military and federalized National Guard troops with the United States in particular circumstances, such as to suppress a civil disorder, insurrection, a rebellion. I would consider stealing a vote to be a rebellion. I mean, think about that. Patrick Byrne, he showcased this, Patrick Byrne, the founder of Overstock.com, that the Chinese had access to our voting information. Doug, I mean, that's not positive stuff, but can you share with the listeners about Christopher Miller and maybe why it is encouraging to have a head of these, or to have a person in charge as the Secretary of Defense that is pro-Trump?
I don't know exactly if he's pro-Trump. I know he's definitely pro-America.
Amen.
You know, he served definitely with special operations, and Army special operations. Those type of guys. Many of them get it. Many of them are extremely loyal to the United States, and they've been there. They've obviously General Miller, he's been around and seen the horrors of war, and he's seen American lives spent abroad. I would think, and I would hope, all right, now hope's not a plan of action, but I would like to have the faith in him, and I think I have the faith in him that he's going to do the right thing when given the chance. If the opportunity is presented to him to take action in certain ways.
All right, so James, here you are. You've moved here from the great state of New York to help fight when the anti-mask lawsuit, which, by the way, tonight we should pass 100 plaintiffs, Dr. Z.
Yeah,
Let's
that'd
do
be
it.
exciting.
I mean, it's growing. There's a momentum. I
Yes.
just talked to Roger Stone. It looks like he may be coming here on one of these Mondays to address
Super cool.
the growing anti-mask nation.
Yes.
cool.
Let me tell you
Disobedience.
let me tell you about our crowd of anti-maskers,
Come
the
on.
people that have signed the lawsuit.
Tell
See,
us.
these people are such sick freaks. For Halloween this year, they dressed up like normal people and didn't wear masks.
Oh my goodness.
And people are looking around like,
sick
what?
freaks they
Who
are.
are these people? Just sick.
That's just sick.
These people look at the facts and they realize that 99.98% of all the people that get COVID-19, 99.2%, 99.9, 99.96, 99.91, well over 99. You keep seeing these different stats, but it's over 99% of people that get COVID don't die. They know that 100% of the people that Dr. Richard Bartlett has treated with budesonide don't die. They know that, and by the way, if you're listening right now and you want the information about budesonide or ivermectin, the treatments that have been shown to be 100% effective, that's budesonide and ivermectin. Text me, 918-851-6920, 918-851-6920, and I'll introduce you to the doctors. So that being said, you're part of the anti-mask lawsuit.
Oh, yeah.
You are demonstrating some civil disobedience.
Yes.
You've moved here from New York to sacrifice to fight.
Yes.
You're going to be going to Washington, D.C. on January the 6th
Yes.
to stand with our president per his request. He's requested all the patriots to show up. You love America.
Yes.
What question do you have for my super scary friend, Doug Ward?
Well, I want to just bring this down to brass tacks,
Brass tacks.
simplicity, just real simple.
Real simple.
Real simple.
Like a pimple.
Hey, can I see the ballots? No. Why not? Because. All right, that's basically the argument on the voter side. And like you have in the office, Clay, a sandwich between voter fraud and the medical fraud. And then on the medical side, what do we have? We have over 99% survival rate.
Yep.
And the stupid rules that are in these states that make bars and restaurants shut down at 11 o'clock because the virus comes out at 11:01.
Oh, yeah. That's what's more dangerous.
It's so simple. It's so ridiculous.
It's a smart
so
virus.
arbitrary. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm sick of this. I'll tell you that right now. I'm just so
well, you better sit
sick
down.
of all this
You
nonsense.
better sit down and grab something to eat to take off that mask over there.
Or drink.
Yeah, and it just. And by the way, I don't know if you heard this. South Africa just outlawed all alcohol to help stop the spread of the sales of all alcohol to help stop the spread of the coronavirus.
That makes sense.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So
That's not going to turn out bad. I see nothing wrong with that.
No, you're just going to have some people, especially the people that are alcoholic, that are going to kind of lose it.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
just
my
a little
question
bit.
for you, Doug, is at what point are we, doing what we need to do. However, I guess we define that, right? Like we're filing these lawsuits. We're going to do some recalling of some political officials or public officials. You know, the governor of New Jersey, what's his name? Murphy just got served.
Yeah,
got served with the recall position by the gym owners. I saw, Dinesh D'Souza posted on Parler today. This restaurant owner, I think he blocked in the health inspector and wouldn't let the health inspector leave because he said, "Listen, if I can't work, if my cooks can't pay their rent, if my waitresses can't pay their bills, then you can't work either." Did you get a paycheck? It was so. We need to do that by about 1,000 or 100,000.
Yeah, that was a very good video.
Million. Yeah,
I saw that video. It actually enraged me.
Same here.
And at the same time, it broke my heart watching this guy. The police are sitting there saying, "Hey, you have to move your car." And he said, "Hey, this guy got paid." He's looking right at the guy. He said, "Hey, did you get paid Friday? Did you get paid?" I mean, this is where we're at now. People need to stand up and start taking action. And say,
How do we
no,
do
we're
that?
not gonna put
How
up
do we do
with
it? How do we do it? What do we do?
No, they just start doing it. Start taking off the mask. Start going about your life. This thing isn't even close to the lethality of the flu.
Nope. People
are not using their critical thinking skills. It's like they're afraid to be the person that's going to get yelled at in a store or something along those lines. I've gone down to the grocery store a couple times the last week. When I go in there, and I'm in Florida, okay, and we're pretty much wide open as far as businesses and that type of thing. When I go in, everyone's wearing a mask. I don't.
Yeah.
And it is very disturbing. People are kind of looking at me because I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not going to wear a mask.
Amen.
And you have to start taking charge of your life. If you're really that afraid of coronavirus and you're going to stay and you're going to hide in your home, what's that say about where the country's going to go if you're willing to just keep taking these steps and not stand up for yourself against something that's really not lethal at all?
So we know that as an action item, everybody needs to practice some civil disobedience. Just run around without a mask. Tonight we're all going grocery shopping at 7:30 at Super Target. If you want to join us.
Oh, perfect.
Off Memorial, no mask.
Oh, no mask. A maskless
mask
party.
free. Maskless. It's craziness. It's a lot of times people don't even recognize who you are when you don't have a mask on.
I know. It's kind of like who are you?
Is that
now?
you?
Is that you?
What? Is that
Wow.
you? Oh, you don't have a mask.
Wow.
I can't tell. So I'm going to have at this point I'm going to bring up Pastor Craig Hagan. He runs a mega church, as well as I'm going to bring up Aaron Antis again for another round of questions. But Doug, before they come up to the mic, what is something else that you feel like every freedom-loving American needs to know now?
Here's something, and it's really important. Quit watching the mainstream media and start looking for answers. Start actually looking for the truth out there. The media, and I was on the phone with a friend of mine. He worked in psychological operations, and I actually said to him, "This is what we did to the enemy. And now it's being applied against the American people, and not just the American people, but every country around the world. All the world leaders have bought into this. The media has bought into it. Every day, all you hear about is the numbers in coronavirus going up, but it's not deaths. It's just some kind of arbitrary number that they're coming up with fake PCR tests.
Right.
People need to understand you're being played."
Clay, I have an action step here before Pastor asks a question. I was texted today by a good friend of mine who actually made this phone call and had a very nice conversation with this person. But this is Governor Kemp's secretary's phone number.
Oh,
and they will answer the phone, and you need to just tell them who you are and demand a statewide signature recount, and for Kemp to order everybody back into session and really look at this. And so here's the number. I'm going to give it to you right now, Thrive Nation. It's 404. Is the area code 404-656 1776.
And what do we say?
That's a good. You say you introduce yourself, and you just say, "Hey, listen, what's wrong with knowing the truth about your election process in Georgia? I'm demanding a statewide audit of the signature ballots to be sure. I mean, you want the truth. You want all the legal votes. So do we. I'm in Oklahoma. I can't do a whole lot in Georgia, but I can make this phone call and express to you how I feel, and a large component of people that I know feel the same way. So please, for the love of God and the love of this country, let's do the right thing, and the right thing is the right thing."
Now let's make sure we get this, folks. Dr. Z just gave you the phone number for Governor Kemp's secretary. That number is 404-656 1776. Again, 404-656-1776. And introduce yourself and ask for, hey, we as an American people, we want to have an accurate ballot count. We demand, what's it you demand? We're asking people, we're saying, hey, call right now and ask for an accurate
An accounting.
accounting.
Right. We want to do signature verification, and that's about the most accurate they can do right now. And we want to do statewide, and we want to get the truth. We want every legal ballot to be counted and every illegal ballot not to be counted. I mean, is that crazy? Doug? Is that crazy talk? Am I just am I on left field?
It's
I mean,
crazy.
You know what? It's not even the fact that it's crazy talk. It's basically what most people would do to prove that, hey, we did beat you. They're not even doing anything to show and prove that they didn't cheat. That is a very telling thing.
It is, isn't it?
I've never seen anything like this before, where someone would just deny. We're basically in a point where we have to prove that there was cheating. The other side you would think would want to actually participate and say, hey, no, we're going to show you everything that no, we didn't. They're not doing that. They're trying to do everything they can to delay anything that could be detrimental to their side.
Z, now a lot of times people live in the New York area. You know this, James. People live in New York, and your mayor there, de Blasio, and the governor of New York, they're asking people to text in if they see someone violating the mandates or the lockdowns. You're supposed to text them in and turn them in. And some states like California have even offered people money to turn in their friends and that kind of thing. And that's a real thing. And what's happening is we've never mentioned this on the show, but there have been a large number of New Yorkers who've been texting in photos of their genitalia directly to the governor. I mean, it's been a mess.
Wait, without a mask on? Oh, no.
And so
that doesn't sound like a New Yorker at all, by the way.
We've never asked for our listeners to do that.
Never.
No. And should you do that, we would say that's not something we've ever encouraged
Mask
you to do.
that puppy up.
Yeah, and so don't. That's not the high road. That's actually literally the low road.
It is literally
the
low road.
So, Craig Hagan, Pastor Craig Hagan, you're not a man known for texting in inappropriate photos to elected officials. You do run the mega church Rhema, 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 the Bible college and church there that's put so many people into the ministry and ministered to so many people over the years. What question do you have, sir, for the great one, Doug Ward, who's a retired Navy veteran and military communications expert?
Well, Doug, being a pastor, I'm always asked, what can I pray about? I mean, how do I pray for this election fraud to be revealed? I mean, is there something specific that we can pray? Or because we have prayer groups that are 24 hours a day praying for things, and they always want to know, how can we pray about this?
The biggest thing I would say, sir, is people need to understand the hardest thing to do is to take the difficult road. And a lot of times that difficult road is the truth and standing up for yourself. People need to start standing up for themselves. Quit looking to the politicians, quit looking to people in supposed positions of authority. Start taking the authority and putting it in your hands, and understand the only change that's going to happen, that's going to be positive a lot of times in your life, is it's going to have to start with you. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to make it a point to get uncomfortable and become comfortable being uncomfortable. Every day should be different for you, and you've got to have that strength to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've told people to quit listening to the news, quit watching the news. We don't have any COVID restrictions at our church, but so many people I know around America are afraid of the virus, and then the whole election fraud thing. People are like, they're going to get away with murder, like not literally murder, but everyone's like wondering, what can we do?
I will say this. I've met some very unimpressive people in the media in years past, and Z, you probably haven't ever, but I have. People that are just good at reading teleprompters and but they don't know what's going on.
Right.
And they're told by their boss they have to read it, and their boss says, you have to make the reporter read it, and then the reporter says, okay, the anchor told me to read it, and everyone's telling everybody.
It's like Ron Burgundy. If you put it on the teleporter, he's going to read it.
I met with that's why that movie's so funny, because it's so true.
It's so true.
I met with a producer for a major network in Tulsa here about 30 days ago. At where you meet all the great producers at Louis.
Louis, of
Met him
course.
at Louis.
Louis.
And he said, here's the deal. I know the PCR tests that are used to inflate the cases. I know they're falsely calibrated. I know that those things should be calibrated at 17 to 20 amplifications. And I know they're all being calibrated at 40 amplifications. It's like your speedometer is telling you you're driving 400 miles an hour when you're driving 7 miles an hour. He says, I know it, but I'm not allowed to say anything. He's like, I had to fight like hell to get our, communist mayor off of our station. Because the communist mayor in Tulsa, is all over the station.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you, folks, you got to stop watching the mainstream. You got to stop watching it.
I know.
Let me tell you what. How cleavage can be a thing?
Cleavage.
Doug, I want to talk about cleavage. You don't have to participate. I'm going to talk about it for a second. I'm a married guy.
Yes.
See, you're on the verge of being a married guy.
Yes.
We respect women.
Yes.
And you walk into a room, and there's a woman she's trying to show the goods.
She's trying. She's showing them.
And I'm just saying, you just got back from church because you went to Raymond because that's where all the cool kids go. And so you walk into Olive Garden.
Yeah.
And this person is showing you the goods. Now, they're not your goods.
Yeah.
These are not your services or goods. And you look away, and right. Seriously, your inner man, your primal man, and maybe Craig could give us therapy on this. You kind of want to look.
You want to go there and motorboat them.
Whoa,
you want to.
Let's not go that far there.
You want to move the Parmesan cheese up coming across the table.
You kind of want to look, right? But then you also you don't. You know what I mean? So you do the side move,
it's called
right?
Self-control.
So
by
now
the
you
way.
do the side move. You do the side move. This is what you
Yeah.
do because you're like 60 years old.
Yeah.
And then she looks at you and is like, sick. That's the mainstream media right now. You don't want to look at the cleavage.
Don't look.
Right? I mean, Aaron, Aaron, you're a cleavage expert. Hop on up here. You've been married for a long time. Come on up here.
He's refusing. Oh, here he goes.
Aaron, come on up
I thought
here.
he was going to refuse to.
No, in the context of marriage.
An Olive Garden.
I'm just going through Doug's notes here. I'm just reading the teleprompter.
I'm just reading the
I'm just kidding. Doug did not put that on the notes.
I'm Doug.
Whoa.
So, okay, we have an opportunity for one final question. I guess two. One from you and then one from Andrew because Doug, this guy served honorably in the military and in the Marines. Navy veteran, communications expert. He was just on the Monkey Works show where they get all the military gurus together and they break down what's happening. This guy is an expert.
Yes.
Aaron, what question do you have for Doug Ward?
What do you think is the overall tone in the military with regards to who they want to follow right now? I believe that everybody that I've run into that's military, we had Jaron Jackson on the show last week. Amazing guy. He was fired up for Trump. But overall, if we see Insurrection Act pulled, if we see things get a little bit crazy here on the 6th or the 20th, is our military going to just follow orders? What are they going to do?
Well, I think it depends on what the order is. If it's to go after and arrest those, or, for example, if it was ordered to go and possibly take action on those who possibly committed election fraud, I would think most people would want that. And no matter if they're a Democrat, in their heart, or conservative, liberal conservative, however you want to look at it. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
If you love this country, you want it done the right way, because once it's done the wrong way and, there's a power shift where they can never get it right again, then things are really going to go bad. And that's kind of a direction we're going now. Now, if it was to say an Insurrection Act or something along those lines that kind of came out and was somehow being misused against people who just want their voice heard, and I'm not talking about like BLM. Most of them, when they come out in the Antifa, it turns into a complete riot. They're burning things and they're hurting people. But if you look at just normal American people that actually, for example, on this thing on January 6th, you're going to see so many people there who have never done this type of thing. They just want their voice heard. They feel they're at a point where they have to go.
Yep.
They have to show up, and they want their voice heard.
Yep.
If something was to happen against those people, I think a lot of them would have a hard time with it.
Zolhan, are you rolling out to the Capitol on the 6th?
I might be. I don't know. I haven't bought a ticket yet, so until I do, are you? You want to go?
I'm going.
I don't know if you're going to be able to find it.
Yeah, the flights
honestly.
are crazy.
Well, maybe I have to get my buddy's
Dude,
jet.
listen.
That's what we need to do. Just fly in with the
You
jet.
need to go
and
with
fly
your
back.
jet buddy.
I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Your jet buddy.
My jet buddy.
I'm with you, Dr. Z.
No mask on the flight.
Oh,
No TSA frisking you, which is
Hey,
not.
hey,
every now and then when I get bored, I just want to go get frisked. Who doesn't, right? But I love that way of travel. But yeah, that's probably the way I would pop in just for the day. Pop in. Just causes.
Andrew,
causes
you're a
scene.
young guy. We have an opportunity for you to ask a question of the great one, Doug Ward here.
Doug, real quick, while Andrew's transitioning on there, real quickly. I mean, if we really have a voter fraud, which is treason, and Donald Trump doesn't drop the hammer on this, is there anybody else in the history of our country right now that could be president that would be tougher on treason than him? I can't think of it. So it's almost like if we don't nip this in the bud right now, and of course nip it in the bud was quite a while ago, but where it is now. I mean, are we ever going to have a safe, fair election ever, Doug?
I don't think so. From everybody I've been talking to, and this is some veterans, officer, analysts, and some good friends of mine, that if we don't get this right now, it'll never go back.
Do you think Donald Trump knows that? President Trump, he has to know that, doesn't he?
He has to know it.
He has to know the gravity of the moment in history right now.
The immensity.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah. I'm sure he's very aware of the gravity of the situation.
He just tweeted out. Oh, sorry, Doug. I didn't mean to cut you out. Back to you, Doug. It kind of cut out for a minute.
Well, it goes back to he knows the gravity of the situation. I'm sure he's very aware, and I think that's why it's important to make sure he has people around him who he can trust.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, is everybody in there really on the side, or are they just trying to ride his coattails? Are they on his side, or are they trying to ride the coattails?
Some of both, right? Yeah.
That means they can turn coat on him at any time.
Yeah.
Right now, with the pressure on him, a lot of them don't want to be part of that. Now is where they're starting to fail. So I think we need to see some changes. Like you said, Clay. Patrick Byrne. I've watched his interview.
Yep.
He's basically saying, I'm sitting there watching these people, basically not serving the president in a 100% manner. With 100% effort and trying to prove what they already know has happened. And I think that, if it was up to me, most of the people that would be supporting the president, as far as, on a military staff, and, some people might not like what I'm about to say in the military, is it needs to be junior officers, like mid-grade, and senior enlisted leaders that support
Amen.
The Constitution. If we were to do something along those lines, and it's, nothing against all those generals, I'm sure there's a few good ones, but the best leaders I've ever found were some of the mid-grade officers, and definitely the senior enlisted.
Well,
I didn't look.
Once you go up to the generals,
junior sailors. When you look at the junior people in the military, a lot of the greatest leaders that they're ever going to meet are their sergeants and their chiefs.
Don't you think that once you go up past a 2-star general, it becomes all political at that point anyway?
Well, it becomes political even before that. It starts to get political, but especially once you get into the general ranks, now things get extremely political.
I want to give people
those positions without power.
I want to give people access. Again, folks, if you want to hear more from Doug Ward, go to anchorstrategiesllc.com, anchorstrategiesllc.com. Or go to the Monkey Works, WERX. Z, have you been getting down with some Monkey Works?
Oh, it's kind of cool, yeah.
It's Monkey Works. It tracks the air travel of the U.S. assets, the military assets, the airplanes, where they're going. Doug, before Andrew asks his final question, tell us something, because you're in the flow. You're in the know. You're on Monkey Works. There's no show more locked into the truth about what's going on with the military in the U.S. right now than Monkey Works. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the movements and the interesting air transportation activities that have been happening within our military?
Yeah, as far as that, I mean, I can't really go into, I don't see anything abnormal at this time, because right now at this given point, and, Monkey and some of the people in the audience, I think were kind of a little disappointed. They were wanting to see something because they want to see action taken. But this is a time in the military which we call holiday stand down. So usually half of groups of units they'll get Christmas off. So they'll have like a week or two off around the Christmas time frame. Right before New Year's, they'll come back to work. Then the other half of the unit or what have you, they will then take off and get New Year's and some time after New Year's to spend with their families. So that's kind of where we're at now. Monkey, he was trying to tell people, hey, we don't have a lot of air activity, and the reasons why. And that's where I kind of, threw that input in there, because you're not going to have as much air activity as you would. Now, he does show some of the flights going down to Guantanamo, and he's been watching that type of thing. And he's been watching some other birds go around. A lot of the stuff you're going to see right now, though, is just normal air traffic, which is refuelers going up.
Yeah.
You won't usually see the fighters, but you'll see the daily cargo flights, which we used to call them like rotator flights. They have certain flights that do certain, I guess you call round tours. We used to call them round robins, and they're basically going around doing their normal flight pass that they do like maybe weekly.
Now, I've got some positive news here, Z. I want some positive news. Okay?
Positive news.
On December 23rd, Trump tweeted out this video. This is President Donald J. Trump tweeting out this video.
I'm going to level with you now. Anyone who has escaped communist China, Russia, Cuba, or North Korea can see the writing on the wall. In 1963, the communist goals to overthrow the United States were entered into congressional record. They stated, capture one or both of the political parties, infiltrate the press, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. After this election, it's pretty clear these goals have been achieved.
All right, so Trump is tweeting about a communist invasion. That's treason. Also, President Donald J. Trump, he just retweeted 8 hours ago a tweet from Lori Hendry, which reads, "It's not election fraud, it's treason." Also, you have, this is interesting stuff here. This is interesting. You have got Lynn Wood retweeting and discussing openly treason. So I'm excited. I love the Mr. T word. I pity the fool.
I pity the fool.
Because whenever you hear treason, we're talking. It's getting real now.
I mean, that's a scary word. And you know what? About 6 weeks ago, a little-known article, or now it's not little-known, made to the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And in there, they talked about 2 new ways of bringing back capital punishment for treason. I mean, that's kind of a timing of that seemed kind of weird. I bet a few guys puckered up on that article.
And Ezra Cohen, I love this guy. Ezra Cohen, he's the director of the Defense Intelligence. He just tweeted out on December 26th, on this day in 1776, General Washington and the Continental Army secured their victory at Trenton. Ezra Cohen is tweeting out actual pictures and video here. He's on his Twitter feed. He's tweeting and retweeting images referencing George Washington getting after it and getting those crazy tyrannical Brits kicked out of our country. I mean, I love what I'm seeing here. And again, you see, there's so much. If you kind of cryptically, Z, you can see some of these things below the surface that are happening that are encouraging to me. Andrew Bloomer, though, you are not in politics. You're
True.
a business consultant. You're a great American. You're a man who never looks at cleavage. Thank you so much for being that guy. What question would you have for our good friend here, Doug Ward?
Yeah, so one question about, with all the treason going on, there's going to have to be a lot of action taken. So I'm curious, with the Insurrection Act, maybe what's, happened in the past when it was implemented. What is the, January 7th or maybe 21st, whenever it happens, what do those next following days look like? And then how swiftly will the military act? How fast will that all happen?
Well, I think if the military was activated to go in and go after, I guess you could say, targets or go after certain individuals, it's going to be swift. They'll try not to play their hand, obviously the element of surprise. And I think one of the best things that could happen if something, to minimize, I would like to see the media shut down. If in a perfect world, if Doug was doing it, I'd say pull the plug, or activate the emergency broadcast system, and let's roll with it.
Abraham Lincoln did that. Lincoln did that.
And if you're able to do something along those lines to minimize what's going on, who you're going after, because think about this, there's quite a few of them. You don't want to alert anyone if you're going after one person because they know they're associated with that person. It's a chain reaction. So you've got to try to stop that chain reaction of the rats trying to flee.
Cool.
See, also here, this is something, again, I have to leave the listeners with encouragement. This is the White House, on the White House website. President Donald J. Trump, he signed an executive order.
Yes.
This is the executive order on imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election dated September 12th, 2018. I'll put a link on the show notes.
Yeah.
And this allows the president to take the assets of bad people who are or organizations who are nefariously attempting to steal an election. I mean, again, it's a longer document. You can read it all. I'll put a link on the show notes. But, Doug, do you think that this executive order is potentially in play?
Yes, I do think it's potentially in play. I think right now it's just a matter of getting all the ducks in a row and getting prepared to execute upon it. I think if they can do that, I think all things are going to be good.
And I feel like January 6th, final question, January 6th, a lot of our listeners are headed to D.C. January 6th, what do you, and again, I'm not putting you into the speculation realm, but what do you know about the significance of January 6th that you know? Because the president, to my knowledge, I haven't seen the president tweeting to attend a lot of rallies in the past where, hey, join me at this rally or that rally. He's done it in regional areas, but he hasn't asked for America to join him. What do you foresee as the importance, or what do you know about the importance of this date, January 6th?
When I look at it, I think this is to get the American people to sound off and let people know the game's over. You're going to listen to our voice. Vice President Pence is going to be sitting there. We're going to find out how much of a leader he is and if he's going to make the right choice.
Yeah.
I think American people need to get out of their comfort zone, get uncomfortable, and do the right thing. And if you can make it, make it.
Yeah.
Because I think this is going to be a great day in the history of the United States.
Yes.
I agree. Brother, I appreciate you so much. And folks, if you're out there and you want to hear Doug's podcast, and I know you do, Doug, one more time, how do people find your podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast is at truthshow.co, but I'm getting ready to move a lot of it over.
Yeah.
So I can have some guests on, and they can actually kind of see us on YouTube, and that'll be Truth or Danger, Doug.
And I got to tell you a funny story and a wrap-up apology for Doug here.
Okay.
I see Doug on Monkeyworks, and I send him a text, and I'm like, dude, it's so great to see you on Monkeyworks tonight, thinking that it was pre-recorded, because we pre-record our show,
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize he was getting that text right then, and he texts back, I'm on right now.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, my bad.
Yeah, we were actually live when you texted me. I just kind of put my mic on mute and just reached over. I'm like, yeah, we're live right now. We're
so sorry. But hey, here's the deal. I know Miss Venezuela, 1984. She'll be joining us there in D.C. I know James D. Cristofaro is going to be there.
Sir.
I know Roger Stone's going to be there. Greg Locke is going to be there. Brian Gibson's going to be there. We've got so many great Patriots that are all going to be there at one time and place. General Flynn's going to be there. There's just so many great people. When you get there, boss, send me a text and we'll connect.
Definitely, guys. And if you're going to all be there, I don't know who all is going to be there, but, let your voice be heard. We have to as a country. And if you got to do it on a local level, you can't make it. Get out and start. Don't be afraid.
Let's bring the megaphones. Let's bring these megaphones.
Unbelievable.
Just get out and do it.
Amen. Hey, you take care and have a great day, sir.
Well done.
Hey, you too. And you guys have a great one, and see you in D.C.
All right. Bye. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom! What if you could gain access to download each and every book that I've ever written for free? Well, that'd be terrible, because I don't like you. Okay, we're making a big assumption here. But assuming that you do like me and you like the Thrive Time Show, you can now go to thrivetimeshow.com/free-resources. That's thrivetimeshow.com/free-resources to download each and every book that I've ever written for free. You can download the ebook version of each and every book that I've ever written for free.
Clay, I just want to chime in here real quick. I don't like you or capitalism. I feel like we should all get free stuff.
Well, I am in the process of explaining where you can get free stuff. And you can now also download all the helpful infographics. There's infographics on Firing 101, the perfect hiring system, the principles from Ray Dalio, Internet Marketing 101, the Lead Bin Management System, Managing Humans 101, Logo Creation 101, Why Google Loves WordPress, Time Management 101. We also have an incredible infographic about the importance of calling your leads often, because the average person no longer answers their phone unless they are called multiple times. And unless they receive a text from you. We also have the importance of file nomenclature 101, sales lead conversion 101, and much, much more. And it's all available for you to download for free right now by going to thrivetimeshow.com.
Are you suggesting that I should have to move my body? Yes, it's for free. Isn't there a way you could just beam it? I mean, why do I have to move my body? Because typing causes me anxiety.
Whatever.
Which is why I would never go to thrivetimeshow.com.
Come on.
/free-resources. I would never go to thrivetimeshow.com /free-resources.
All right, let me clarify. If you have the capacity to move your fingers, go to thrivetimeshow.com /free-resources to download an ebook version of every single Amazon best-selling book I've ever written and all the infographics that have the power to change your life.